Hello guys, I'm Reagan and today we borrowed the 2020 Mazda CX-30 Sport for the weekend just to see how it's like to drive it and live with it, at least for the weekend. Let's do this! When the Mazda CX-30 first came out last year, I got an opportunity to do a comprehensive showroom review of this car, but never truly had the chance to drive it. Now, if you want to see the comprehensive feature set of the CX-30, you may click the link above and watch that video. Now, while I did get to spend a few hours with the CX-30 back then, it wasn't really enough for me to have a feel of this car because it was just in a showroom setting. It wasn't also enough for me to answer the question, is it worth the premium asking price of this CX-30 Sport? Because this particular baby retails for 1,790,000 pesos. Now at that price, it is practically the same level as the base model Mazda CX-5. So it begs the question, why buy this smaller Mazda crossover when you can have the larger base model CX-5 for practically the same price? Well, after spending a weekend with this CX-30 Sport, we get to finally answer these questions. Now, the more you look at this car, the more it grows on you. The fluidic lines of the updated Kodo design language is simply fantastic on the Mazda CX-30, similar to the Mazda 3 hatch. It doesn't look as butch as the CX-5. Rather, its sleek silhouette won it the 2020 Red Dot Design Award. It looks refined and expensive as long as you keep your eyes above those plastic claddings. We'll get to that later. Now, this CX-30 Sport has these front LED adaptive headlights, which at first I thought was a gimmick until I drove this baby at night. It's pretty fantastic the way the light beams follow your steering wheel direction, which also explains why the CX-30 doesn't have any fog lights anymore. These adaptive LED units, they make fog lights a little bit on the redundant side. Now, when you see the side profile of the CX-30, you'll clearly see that it was lifted from the Mazda 3 hatchback because essentially, the CX-30 is a lifted Mazda 3 hatch. It has these large plastic claddings here though, but they do serve a purpose. You see, these plastic claddings preserve the silhouette of the 3 hatchback, and you could clearly see it in its white color. It's especially more pronounced at night because when you look at it from the side, it looks like a Mazda 3 hatchback that's floating a couple of inches higher than it should. Now, Mazda could have painted this claddings the body color, but that would totally ruin the silhouette of the CX-30. They could have also omitted the plastic claddings altogether, but the large wheel gaps that it would create would be so ugly. So I get it now, Mazda. These plastic claddings, they are an essential requirement in order to keep and preserve the silhouette and the beauty of the CX-30. Now, when you check out the rear of the CX-30, it's essentially a Mazda 3 hatchback's rear, with the exception of this plastic cladding here for the rear bumper. I find it really cool how Mazda did that because if you keep your eyes from here to here, it's practically a Mazda 3 hatchback. Now, even if the CX-30 is based off the 3 hatchback, this CX-30 is actually shorter by 3 inches versus its smaller sibling. So, it's pretty weird. I mean, this is supposed to be the bigger car. Now, it does have a taller roofline though, so that translates to a better trunk space because the CX-30 has 430 liters of trunk space, but that's still smaller when you compare it to the larger CX-5's over 500 liters of trunk space. Now, if you've had any doubts about the CX-30 due to its premium asking price, all those doubts would be completely erased once you see the cabin. This has got to be one of the nicest cabins I've ever been in a subcompact crossover, and I'm not just talking about looking nice. The CX-30 gives you that complete premium luxury experience inside, and it all starts off from subtle visual cues like this nice recessed AC vents here in the middle dashboards to a really good tactile experience with all of these fantastic leather and soft touch materials that they've used inside. All the high traffic areas of the CX-30's cabin has been beautifully wrapped in leather, and even the switch gear feels so premium to the touch. They don't really feel cheap. Now, this premium experience has also been extended to the oral experience because the CX-30's soundstage is one of the best in the market. It's got an 8-speaker setup that's been tuned by Mazda's harmonic acoustics, and one of the key ingredients of having this fantastic soundstage is by reducing the ambient noise from outside entering the cabin. Now, Mazda was able to do that by relocating the front door speakers from the doors to under the dashboard. So that way there are no holes on your doors that would let ambient noise come in. These small details, the small attention to details is pretty much exactly what you're paying for when you're getting a CX30. Now, granted, the cabin isn't really the biggest in its class, and truth be told, Mazda has never been big when it comes to space. I mean, it's decent here up front, but believe it or not, the CX30's front space and the driver's seat is a little bit tighter than that of the Mazda 3 hatchback. Now, don't get me started on the back seat though. The back seat would be cozy in terms of description at best, but let's face it guys, it's really quite tight back there. Now anyway, why don't we take this CX30 out for a spin just to show you guys how it handles on the road. When you first get behind the wheel of the CX30, you don't feel like you're driving an SUV or a crossover. Granted, it's only a couple of inches taller than the Mazda 3 hatchback, so that's a plus point for the CX30 because driving SUVs could sometimes feel so unwieldy. From the driver's seat, you could easily tell that Mazda engineered the CX30 to be a true driver's car. I mean, I'm 5'6" and I love how on my driving position, my eyes would just naturally fall on the infotainment screen right here in the middle. The way Mazda positioned it to be within your line of sight, but not intrusive at the same time, is so subtle and so elegant. And it's these little things that elevate the driving experience for you in the CX30. Now, when you look at the instrument gauges, you see that it's in an analog format, but believe it or not, this is a fully digital instrument gauge. So I love the fact that Mazda decided not to go for a lot of highfalutin stuff and details in your instrument gauges. They decided to still use a traditional analog format, but you have the option to change it into a digital style format, and that's also a good thing. The design of the font and the layout of the gauges is very elegant, very classic. It's subtle, but it doesn't really feel cheap. So that's a good thing about the CX30 as well. It makes you focus more on the drive than anything else. Another thing that I love about the cabin of the CX30 is just how ergonomic everything is. I mean, everything is well within reach and it feels so natural. Like this center leather armrest that I have here. My arm just falls naturally on it, and when you rest it there, your palm would immediately find the master control knob, which controls your infotainment system. Granted, this master control knob could get a little bit fiddly at times, but it's still easy to navigate, which is a good thing considering that your LED screen for your infotainment is not really a touchscreen. When it comes to the actual driving, well, the CX30 is a decent performer in normal mode. It's not really the fastest subcompact crossover out there, but it doesn't lag behind as well. With only 155 horses on tap from its 2-liter Skyactiv mill, you really can't expect really aggressive, strong performance from this car. In sport mode, however, it does hold the revs a lot longer and a lot higher, and it would really give you that kind of output that you would need. It's still not class leading though, but at least the sport mode is better tuned than other sport modes that are offered out there in the market. Now, another feature that I like about the CX30 is the iStop feature, which automatically turns off your engine when you're in a full stop like in this intersection. Plus, when you couple it with the auto brake hold feature, which automatically holds the brakes for you. You see, when the iStop engage, the engine dies down, so you don't even have to get out of drive and go into neutral when you're in an intersection like this. And the auto brake hold feature will just keep your car in place, and you just relax. Now, when you have to move your car again, all you need to do is just do a quick tap of the brakes, and the engine would start again, and you can just drive off. So it's a cool little feature that the CX30 has with its iStop, the auto brake hold. It all comes together to form a very convenient package in the CX30. It makes driving so much more convenient. See, when you mash on the gas pedal, even in sport mode, the acceleration is there, but it's not really abrupt. It's not in a hurry. It's smooth, it's linear. It's something that you'd expect from a naturally aspirated engine. Now, despite the stellar NVH of the CX30 though, the engine sound could still be heard when you're going on a high rev. So, I like the engine note of the CX30 though. This Skyactiv mill, when it's revving high, sounds pretty good. Now, when you put the CX30 through its paces like what we're doing now, it doesn't feel like a crossover. It feels more like the Mazda 3 hatchback. That's a great thing. I love how Mazda tuned the suspension on the CX30. It's a little bit higher, so you could expect a little bit more body roll here and there versus the Mazda 3 hatch. But overall, it hugs the corners very well. It sticks the corners quite good. See? I'm going through this winding road in a fast clip. And boy, this CX30 can perform. I also love the steering feel of the CX30. The feedback is nicely weighted and you get a good amount of input from the road, and that's a good thing. That's something that's a little bit missing in a lot of electric assisted power steerings nowadays, and Mazda really knows how to tune their steering output. I also love the size of the steering wheel itself. This baby is nice and thick. It doesn't feel as small as the ones found on the MX-5 Miata. And the quality of the leather is also pretty good. It's going through the curves again, guys. Woo. Yes. Did I mention that the CX30 also has that G vectoring control, which ensures that your car remains stable at all times, even while you take these curves in a nice fast clip. All right. Now we're going to go through a series of speed bumps just to share with you what kind of refinement the suspension of the CX30 has. The CX30, being a little bit higher than the Mazda 3, can take these large speed bumps pretty well. It doesn't get flustered though, but I'm not going to take it as fast as I did with the Ranger Raptor when I did a review of that Ford Ranger Raptor. This is still a crossover, guys. It's not an off-roading machine. But still, if you have to take it through those large speed bumps at speed, it could handle it. Now, if I have to nitpick, I'll have to say that the brake feel of the CX30 feels a little bit on the harder side. In terms of brake modulation, it doesn't really have a good feel to it. So maybe a little bit better tuning in terms of brake pedal feel would be in order, but that's just me nitpicking. Another thing that I could probably mention is the size of the side mirrors as well. You know, these side mirrors, they're a little bit sleek and on the small side. So I'm finding it a little bit difficult looking out through these side mirrors. They're not really that small, but they're not that big as well. So there's that. Or maybe I'm just influenced by the fact that these windows are kind of on the tiny side. Front visibility is okay though, so at least you have that. But in terms of side visibility, the higher belt line means that, well, it's a little bit tougher to look out on your sides when you're driving the CX30. Overall, guys, the CX30 is a fantastic car to drive. Its cabin is luxurious, its performance is decent, and its drive experience, it's pretty awesome. It's a perfectly balanced subcompact crossover. If there's one word to describe a CX30 owner, that would be discerning. This person has a good eye for detail and does not want to sacrifice on quality. Most likely, he or she has a couple of European luxury cars in their garage and just needs an alternate vehicle that doesn't cost as much but still won't scrimp on these premium luxury appointments that they've gotten used to. This owner has an impeccable taste for the good life because the CX30 will provide them with a complete premium experience, albeit on the small side when it comes to crossovers. Once again, guys, thank you for watching one of my car reviews. If you like this review, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button as well. I promise you guys I'll make it worth your while if you subscribe to my channel. I'm Reagan, and I'll see you again in another video. Bye-bye.